Greetings, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to lecture 2 of the private mentorship series. The title of this mentorship series lecture is Monk Mode Unlocking Focus and Productivity. With every lecture, I like to start off with the lecture structure. So we'll start off with what is monk mode, why do we do monk mode, the protocols and rules generally attached to monk mode, the science behind monk mode, tips for integrating it into your life, and my personal monk mode protocol, and then how we could start. Monk mode is essentially a dedicated period of intense focus and minimal distractions. So, this is a period of your life where you essentially fully harp on the concept I previously mentioned, which is increase via reduction. So, during this period, all aspects of your life are dedicated towards the one goal at hand. Your sleep schedule is lined up with this goal, your eating habits is lined up with this goal, your study habits lined up with this goal, your social life is lined up with this goal. Every single aspect of your life is in tune to your goal during this specific period. As inputs decrease, outputs increase. This period of ultra focus allows you to conserve energy and direct it towards the one thing that you're focused on getting better at in life. Remember the example that I used with the law of thermodynamics previously? Exactly. We have created a framework where our limited energy is not being dispersed unnecessarily. Therefore, naturally, our productivity will increase because of the reduction of dispersed energy, or what we would usually call distractions. So essentially, this is a period where you just remove all distractions. So the only thing that's left is just focus. We're going to go into why do we do monk mode. So monk mode increases productivity and focus, as I just mentioned. So I somewhat touched on this in the previous slide. When you remove distractions from your life, your productivity and efficiency goes up naturally because your energy has to be directed towards something. If it's no longer being directed to something unproductive, it will automatically be directed to something productive. When I recently started Form 6, my classmate was like, bro, it's so hard to just study and just sit down and do the work. Like, it's just so difficult for some reason. And I looked at him and I was like, bro, just make it easy to do work. And then he kind of was like, what? Like stop trying to sound so, cool and edgy. He's like, what do you mean just make it easy to do work? And then I gave him a scenario. And I was like, bro, if I lock you in a room with no phone, no computers, no distractions whatsoever, like nothing there to distract you, it's just a desk, a chair, you and your books, and you're not allowed to leave the room for the next hour, after like 20 minutes of boredom, you just feel like doing work because there's nothing else to do. So he was like, yeah, I guess, but, and then I was like, bro, like, there's no but. There's no but. I literally gave a scenario where doing work was easy. The problem has been solved. The problem of work being hard, monk mode solves that. So you just block off distractions and productivity will just become a natural byproduct. So you're not necessarily just striving for productivity, you're striving for removal of distractions. I think it's very important to harp on this point because the normal thought process is how can I become more focused? But when you really break it down, as humans, we are naturally focused beings. So focus really comes down more to reducing distractions as opposed to making yourself more focused. So the second point of reduce stress. My personal definition of stress is being in a situation where you feel like there's a sense of hopelessness. You feel like this thing is happening to you and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what stress is. The reason you feel stressed about the syllabus and how long it is because somewhere deep in you, you feel like you won't be able to change that stressful emotion towards the syllabus. You feel like, oh, this syllabus is hard, I have CAPE, and there's nothing I could do about it to make CAPE easy. There's nothing I could do about this syllabus where I would feel comfortable. That's what stress is. And when you're in monk mode and you have this period of ultra focus, any task that is put in front of you feels doable and achievable. When you have an IA to complete or an assignment to get done, you know that you will get it done. because of the level of focus that you have. You're no longer stressed about the situation. You feel comfortable knowing that the work in front of you will be done and that any obstacle that you face will be overcome because the majority of your energy and effort is being put towards it. It would be unreasonable for me to not know the Caribbean Studies syllabus if every day for 90 days I studied Caribbean Studies in line with the syllabus for an hour and a half to 2 hours. It would be unreasonable for me to not be comfortable with the syllabus after 90 days of pure focus. And that essentially is where the monk mode focus reduces your stress when it comes to things like school. Even with sports, if I do 100 penalties, let's say I take 100 penalties every day for the next 60 days, it would be unreasonable for me to feel stressed when I'm about to take the penalty in a match because I've done it so many times. So that's where the reduction of stress comes from in relation to monk mode. Uncommon goals require uncommon actions as the third point. My perspective stems purely from a statistical and a number standpoint. I'll just be real with everyone here. The odds of you winning a scholarship is less than 2%. That's just the reality of it. It's just numbers, just based on how many students write the exam and how many scholarships they give out on an annual basis. The likelihood of you getting a scholarship is less than 2%. If you want to be in that 2% of students, you can't have the same habits and mindset of the 98% of students who won't be in line for that scholarship. I can say that over one more time. If you want to be in the 2% of students who achieve a scholarship, or 5 1s, 4 1s, if you want to be in that 2% of students, you cannot have the same habits and mindset of the other 98% of students. It's simple as that. And how many students go on monk mode? Exactly, a very small amount of students are willing to sacrifice everything on the altar of success for the one goal. So you have to get it into your head that in order to be the best, you have to be the best. To be the best, you have to be the best. It sounds like, oh, some cool quote, but just think about it. If you want to be the best student, you have to be the best student. And you know what the best student looks like. The best student looks like a student who does nothing but work, sleep, a little bit of time for fun and social interaction just to recharge. And that's it. That's what the best student is. So you have to make the sacrifice to be that person. You have to be the hardest worker in the room at all times. The last point is the psychological edge. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this. The psychological edge. So there's a psychological edge that occurs when you have sacrificed and put an insane amount of work in. All of your anxieties and fears are trumped by the hard work. So for example, when I entered in an exam room and I started feeling nervous and would have thoughts of doubt, I would simply remind myself that regardless of whether I think I could do this exam well or not, regardless of how jittery or anxious I feel, I have done past paper questions over 100 times and I've studied for over 4 hours every day for the past 3 months. It would be unreasonable for me to not do well. So the knowledge of the fact, the knowledge of the knowledge, you knowing and you being aware of the fact that you have put the work in, removes any doubts that you would have. And that's a psychological edge that you can't put a price tag on. That's a psychological edge that you could only get from actually putting the work in. So monk mode gives you that psychological edge. Outside of you just being able to do as much work and learn as much, you have that psychological edge of, yo, I studied a lot. It would be unreasonable for me, even if they bring a question on this exam that's hard, I've studied so much that I would at least know what topics on the syllabus they are alluding to. So even if I can't answer the question in the way in which they ask it, I could just write down the main points from the syllabus that I remember that I believe is in line with this question. So the psychological edge is something that I'm very passionate about. The uncommon goals require uncommon actions. I'm very passionate about those two things because a lot of people like to just have this entitlement that, oh yeah, I could just do this and get this. There's a shortcut or there's a easy way out. Oh well, of course you could study every day, for 4 hours a day or 3 hours a day, but I found this study technique online that allows me to cram things. It's like, bro, just do the work, bro. Just do the work. There's so much that comes from doing hard work. There's so many long tail benefits of being the best version of ourselves. We cannot even comprehend it. So that was a small little rant outside of what I have written here. But I do feel strongly about just working as hard as you possibly could in